The impact of religion and Sufism on arts in Sudan. Kamala Ibrahim Ishaq, 1939. Dear audience, we are delighted to meet you once again as we continue our journey exploring the world of the Sudanese visual arts, tracing the profound influence of religion and Sufism on artistic expression and creative vision. Today, we turn our attention to an exceptional figure whose work has left an everlasting mark on the cultural landscape of Sudan and beyond. Our guest is none other than Kamala Ibrahim Ishaq, a towering presence in modern Arab African art, celebrated as a pioneer of contemporary Sudanese visual culture. With a bold and distinctive voice, she has not only reshaped artistic narratives, but also challenged conventions within a field long dominated by men. Her work moves between the spiritual and the symbolic, opening a new pathways of interpretation and inviting us into deeply introspective and visionary glimpses. Join us as we explore her remarkable journey, her unique artistic philosophy, and the subtle yet powerful ways in which spirituality and Sufi thought resonate through her creations. So it is my great pleasure, dear audience, welcome you again. We are here in the presence of one of the Sudanese prominent, outstanding female artist in our presence and the focus of our meeting today, Kamala Ibrahim Ishaq. Feminist art history is a varied approach to art analysis that examines art made by women, art about women, and how art affects women. However, many aspects of the historical analysis of feminist art neglected intersectionality. I'm zooming. I'm focusing in on a beloved artist born in Sudan, Kamala Ibrahim Ishaq. Together with her students Naila Tayyib and Muhammad Hamid Shaddad, she founded the Crystalist movement, a radical art movement that challenged the art spaces of Sudan. She is one of the most influential Sudanese and African modern artists, widely recognized as the pioneer of contemporary Sudanese art and a major female voice in a traditionally male-dominated field. Regarded as a feminist icon, Kamala is one of the most important female artists working today on the African continent, and one of her works, Preparation of Incense, Zar Ceremony, is presented in the fourth dedicated sale of modern and contemporary African art. which will take place in London on the 2nd of April. So we meet Kamala, towering figure in the Sudanese visual arts. We meet her presenting her biography, her education, her contributions, and her legacy as a prominent and illustrious female visual artist in Sudan, in the Arab world, and in Africa. Birth and upbringing. Kamala Ibrahim Ishaq was born in Omdurman, Beit al-Mal neighborhood, and that was in 1939. She received her earliest education in Omdurman and then studied from 1959 to 1963. From 1959 to 1963 as a College of Fine and Applied Arts of the Khartoum Technical Institute that later became the Sudan University of Science and Technology in Khartoum. Further to this, she pursued her postgraduate studies in painting, illustration, and lithography at the Royal College of Art in London between 1964 and 1969. After her stay in London, she returned to teach at her former college and also became dean of this art school. Artistic career. Kamala Ibrahim Ishaq artistic and spiritual influences go back to the works of William Blake and the Azhar spiritual rituals of the Sudanese women. These elements of existentialism and the culture of women serve as the central themes of Ishaq's work in the 1970s and 1980s. These influences distinguish Ishaq from her contemporaries, who were inspired largely by the notions of Sudan's post-colonial independence and Islamic themes. Blake and Zahar provided personal inspiration. It was as member of the Khartoum School of Painting where Ishaq began to be known as an artist. So as you listen here from these lines, what I would like to tell that she influenced as we have presenting her biography and her artistic career. She was influenced with the works of the famous British romantic poet William Blake. In addition to the Sudanese, their spiritual rituals of the Sudanese women. The Crystalist movement. As part of the episode, the audience, I would like to share one of her contribution, one of her legacy, and that is the Crystalist movement, an artistic movement that has been created, innovated, so as to stand on the other side of Khartoum School as a representative to Sudan visual arts. So here I would like to share some of the views on this important movement and group. So in 1978, إسحاق and two of her students, Muhammad Hamid Shaddad and Nail Al-Tayyib, started the conceptual art movement called Crystalist Group that broke away from the traditional practices in the Sudanese art scene. Their intention was to distinguish themselves from the Khartoum school of painting and their traditional male-centered outlook. This new approach in Sudanese painting was marked by a public declaration in the form of the so-called Crystalist Manifesto, first published in Arabic as Al-Bayan Al-Kristali. The document presented an artistic vision that attempted to work beyond the Sudanese Islamic framework of the Khartoum school. Moreover, the Crystalists sought to internationalize their art by embracing an existentialist pioneering, more akin to European aesthetics. The cosmos is a project of a transparent crystal with no veil and eternal depth. The truth is that the crystalist perception of time and space is different from that of others. The goal of the crystalist is to bring back to life the language of the crystal and to transform language into something more transparent, in which no word can veil another, no selectivity in language. We are living a new life, and this life needs a new language and a new poetry. This group rejected common conventions in Sudanese modern painting of the 1960s and strived to find an aesthetic and critical language that would emphasize the notions of pleasure and knowledge in order to permanently abolish differences and boundaries. Based on her artistic career spanning more than 50 years, Ishaq has been called one of the most important visual artists in Africa. Basically, to become part of a society, one must forego some of one's desires to fill into the space allotted for one's existence. The Crystalists believe that communities should be expansive, like the universe, and the crystal, which is more attuned to our actual nature. Ishaq's artistic beliefs are both for the artistically trained and for society at large. For the United Sufis of Sudan who are attuned to this sort of mystical thinking, for women in Sudan who are supposedly shunned from the arts and relegated to oppressive roles in society, for Muslims, the French, the British, those outside of Sudan. In 1978, the three artists wrote and co-signed the text Al-Bayan Al-Kashfi, the Crystalist Manifesto in Arabic. The concept of crystalism developed by Kamala is grounded in the idea that reality is not fixed or singular, but rather resembles a crystal, multifaceted, transparent, and constantly shifting depending on the viewer's perspective. In this view, truth is never absolute. Instead, it is fragmented and layered, with each angle revealing a different aspect of existence. Crystalism, therefore, rejects rigid and unified notions of identity, particularly those emphasized by movements such as Khartoum School, and proposes instead a more fluid, open-ended understanding of the self and the world. Philosophically, Christalism moves away from art as the vehicle for expressing collective cultural identity and toward art as a means of exploring inner consciousness, psychological depth, and the unseen dimensions of experience. This shift places emphasis on ambiguity, multiplicity, and the complexity of perception rather than clarity or symbolic representation in visual terms. This is reflected in Kamala's use of fragmented and distorted human forms, layered compositions, and dreamlike or unsettling imagery, all of which suggest that identity itself is unstable and continuously in flux. Moreover, Christianism engages deeply with spiritual and psychological states, drawing on Sudanese cultural practices such as Zar rituals, where the self is understood as multiple and transformable. This connection reinforces the movement's central idea of a plural and dynamic identity. Using an intrinsic yet piercing eye, Ishaq's work gracefully depicts scenes from the lives of the Sudanese women, while providing an alternative point of view to the otherwise patriarchal and established conventions of art in Sudan. She is fascinated by Sudanese spiritual practices, and her work is the great indicator of this influence, which she explores in unequivocal detail in preparation of incense Zar ceremony. She was inspired by the figurative paintings of Francis Bacon and had interest in painter and poet William Blake's exploration of spirituality and incarnation. The latter resonates with Ishaq's own contemplation of Zar, Sudanese women healing and spiritual position rituals. The paintings of Kamala Ibrahim Ishaq brought about a profound transformation in the history of modern art in Sudan, with women at the very center of that shift. She portrays Sudanese women in a way unmatched by her contemporaries or subsequent generations. Her work became a deeply expressive record of the rituals and social customs of Sudanese society, one largely shaped and sustained by women, whose strength, tolerance, tenderness, and compassion she captured with remarkable sensitivity. For Kamala, the image of woman was not merely a subject, but a powerful instrument of resistance against the dominant ideals of the Khartoum school. She gradually turned inward toward tradition. This tension led her to challenge the very artistic direction she had initially embraced. In response, she founded the Crystalist Group, a movement that called for openness to life and its multiple dimensions, much like the facets of a crystal. For her, art was innovative endeavor, a way of perceiving life as a project of uncovering the future. Her work often features mythology, storytelling, the communal experiences of women, and local histories, ranging from the prehistoric to the Christian and Islamic eras. Ishaq is known for her paintings of women, often with distorted faces and figures, combined with plants and other organic elements. She uses dark and muted tones, visually reflective of the Sudanese urban landscape and natural environment. Much of her work focuses on distorted human faces with a demonic appearance. She describes her art as figurative abstraction that draws on Arab and African traditions. Significant expositions. In this part of the episode, the audience, I would like to point out to the major expositions that Kamala's artworks have been presented. So the major exposition include Comedian Art Center, London, that is in 1970, National Museum of Women in Art, Washington, D.C., 1994, Sharjah Art Museum, UAE, 1995, Whitechapel Gallery, London, 1995, Breaking the Veils, Women Artists from the Islamic World, Royal Society of Fine Arts, Jordan, 2002, Shibrin Art Center, Khartoum, 2014, Women in Crystal Cubes, Sharjah Art Foundation, 2016, Serpentine South Gallery, London, 2022-23. So this is just the audience parts of her participation, international wide or across the world. Her paintings, her artworks has been presented, and this is just an example of the expositions that she has honored. Meanwhile, about the greatest prize that she has received, here I would like to tell, renowned Sudanese artist Kamala Ibrahim Ishaq has been announced as the Prince Claus Laureate in 2019. The Prince Claus Laureate 2019, an award in the Netherlands that recognizes contributions to contemporary culture. Ishaq, a feminist icon, was one of the founders of Khartoum School, a modernist art movement from the newly independent Sudan in the 1960s. At the same time, Crystalism carries an important critical dimension as it challenges dominant, often male-centered narratives within the Sudanese modern art and opens space for the expression of women's inner experiences. In this sense, Crystalism is not only an artistic method, but also a philosophical and cultural stance that redefines how reality, identity, and artistic expression can be understood. It is important to acknowledge that Ishaq rejects being constrained into any definitions and boxes throughout her artistic career. In one of her interviews with Dabanga, an independent news reporting site in Sudan, she answers disdainfully the question of her art as a reaction to male dominance in the art world. To her reaction, that is not true. Women back then were doing far more than men in the art field in Sudan. I don't know why people keep saying that. It is true that during her time teaching at the University of Khartoum, more women than men were enrolled in art schools. But let us be real, male dominance is the reason for that shift. The shift from art being a male dominated field to a female dominated one is the denigration of art to become less important to society. Now women have a greater barrier to entry into STEM fields rather than the humanities. Looking at Ishaq through feminist methodology is not an attempt to put her into the box of Sudan feminist painter, rather taken after the methodologies proposed by the Christianist movement. It is to look at her through one perspective in multitude. Picking the feminist method is, for multiple reasons, the most tantamount of them, considering the crimes against women currently being conducted in Sudan, where rape is being used as a war tactic. So the audience, I would like to remind you that I'm presenting Kamala Ibrahim Ishaq as a pioneering Sudanese visual arts icon. And our encounter with her is a continuation for the series of documentaries that have been dedicated to bring into light the contribution of the Sudanese artist, more specifically the visual artists. And just the audience, I shared part of what has been written about her pioneering movement, and that is Christianism as an opposing movement and school and group to that famous one of Khartoum School of Visual Arts. Kamala's legacy. A leading modernist from Sudan, artist Kamala Ibrahim Ishaq, 6 decades long artistic practice has profoundly influenced Afro-Arab modern art scenes. Her early career operated within the ethos of the Khartoum School, known for carving an artistic identity for the newly independent nation by evolving a hyper-visual vocabulary that merged Arabo-Islamic and African elements and motifs. In 1976, Ishaq co-founded the Christianist groups, challenging the ethos of the male-dominated Khartoum School. The Christianist Manifesto, published in the influential Al-Ayam newspaper, called for a new postmodern aesthetic premised on transparency, diversity, and existentialist theory. Despite essaying such foundational roles, Ishaq refuses to be defined by any singular movement or style, experimenting instead with different painterly strategies, styles, subjects, and techniques. She continues to be an intellectual catalyst and inspirational force among a younger generation of Sudanese artists. Ishaq said that her most recent painting would deal with the uprising in Sudan that overthrew Omar al-Bashir as president and the subsequent crackdown by the security forces on democracy protesters in Khartoum. So as you listen, the audience, just to sum up and to say that one of the greatest achievement and stand as the living legacy of the Sudanese internationally artist Kamala Ibrahim. Is her foundation, her establishment, and her innovative work, Christianism movement, a movement that tries to open the window so widely to interpret the essence of life, putting in consideration more focus on woman presence in visual arts. So no doubt she stands as an inspiring figure, as an icon to future Sudanese female visual artists. So before to wrap up the audience, then here I would like to share the sources that already I have consulted. Wikipedia. This is one of the sources that already I have consulted, in which so very informative ideas about Kamala. And then we have Rimajali, Kamala Ishaq, Rimajali article, Kamala Ishaq, more than 50 years in drawing, published at Musib.com. And then we have the source. Here we have Stephanie Bailey, an article, Kamala Ibrahim Ishaq, Fluid and Settled Modernism, published at Acula.com magazine. Sudan 80th year, Kamala Ibrahim Ishaq is the 2019 Prince Claus Laureate, written by New African, published October 22, 2019. And then we have Julie Green, article, Kamala Ibrahim Ishaq, published article in awarewomenartist.com. Renal Egbanugo, article, Kamala Ibrahim Ishaq through a feminist art history lens, published at daftar.africa.com. And then we have the article, كمال إبراهيم إسحاق رسامة سودانية حداثتها الفنية صنعت مجدا للنساء, published article on alarab.com UK on 24 of November 2019. And finally, here I would like to tell that Kamala in interview said, "I'm still painting. It will be about what happened at the uprising when all the people died in the massacre," pointing to the latest uprising of Sudan 2019. And she said she was witness to that horrible and horrific scenes that she witnessed. By this, the audience, I came to the end of the episode, and seeing you in another episode. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you.